Hiya, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Today I'm going to show you two different moulds that I purchased from AliExpress. Now, I haven't bought anything from AliExpress for a long time. I just don't like waiting for the weeks for them to turn up. But you can get reasonable things. However, you can get items that you're not expecting as well. Now, both of these moulds were purchased on the same day, two different companies, and they looked identical. But I'm going to show you the differences and yeah, let's have a look.
Now, the more experienced of you will already know the difference, but I'm going to try and explain. One on the left is shiny, the one on the right is matte. They are both the same sort of mould, but you can see that the matte one is literally a dull finish. It has the same amount of detail in it, but there's no shininess to the mould at all. Whereas the shiny one, you can see it glimmer. If you're pouring resin into moulds, that's going to make a lot of difference to what comes out the mould, even though it's exactly the same design and were both purchased from AliExpress. So for the first pour, I'm going to be using JDiction's epoxy resin for this. It's not a deep pour resin, but it does pour quite deep. I'm also going to be using Let's Resin purple pigment. It's not alcohol ink and so won't fade like alcohol ink does. So I've mixed up my resin, stirred it for 4 minutes, put the colour in and I'm ready to pour. Because it's quite a translucent colour, I can actually see through and see where all the bubbles in the mould are hiding. Now, I always forget to squirt my moulds with isopropyl alcohol before I pour resin, and it does help to get rid of the bubbles so they don't form in the first place. But I always forget. I should write a note somewhere and stick it on my shelf so it's right in front of me. So because I didn't squirt it with isopropyl alcohol, I'm using a micro brush to go around and get out all the little bubbles that are stuck in every point and crevice. And there's a lot in this mould, and it does take me quite some time. Once I'm happy that I've completely debubbled it, then I'm going to top it up to the top. Now, these will be going into my pressure pot. I have a pressure pot, therefore I use it a lot. You don't have to put something like this in the pressure pot. It just come out bubble free if you do. However, if you haven't got those little air pockets out, even with a pressure pot, you'll still have air pockets in it. They'll just be smaller. So yeah, you've got to get those air pockets out. I'm going around the edge with my micro brush just to make sure I haven't missed any of the air pockets under lips and things. JDiction does have a slow cure resin, which is for deeper pours. It takes longer to cure, but if you don't have a pressure pot, that might be a great option for you. So check it out and I'll leave a link in the description box below. Don't forget your discount code for JDiction, which is Toonpish25 792 for 10% off at the checkout. These pieces then get squirted with isopropyl alcohol and put in the pressure pot. Now, I usually say 24 hours later, but this was a couple of days later. Work and life got in the way, so I had to wait a couple of days before I could demold these, but I was really excited to see the differences myself, and I wanted to see how the mould came out. I do love dragons, don't you love dragons? I love dragons. And as these moulds were really quite reasonable, how good are they? That is gorgeous. It is just my opinion, and I do love purple. It's like purple glass. It's absolutely beautiful and the detail is brilliant. And the other one, it's matte. It's not shiny, but you know what? I absolutely love it. I love the fact that that is a matte mould. I think it's beautiful. They're both exactly the same, but one is matte and one is shiny. If you look through the underside, you wouldn't even know. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the matte or do you prefer the shiny? I've always chosen shiny moulds in the past, but now I think, you know, matte moulds have their place. They really do. Now, if you accidentally buy a matte mould and you was really wanting a shiny mould, you can shine your piece up by coating it with resin. I used this method on the first chest set that I made, and I will link that in the top right hand corner. Claire from Claire's Crafty Corner also has a great video on it, and I'll link that in the description box below. This little guy was the inspiration for my second make of the dragons. He was made with leftover resin that I had from the Let's Resin chest set that I made recently, and Tinsel, and I loved it so much that I thought I'm going to have to do this again. as it's Christmas, we have tinsel in abundance, and this tinsel is gorgeous. It's not the same colour as I use in the chest set, but it's absolutely beautiful and it's easy to cut up. So after a little while, I got down to the bare stem, and the tinsel around the middle is the best type of tinsel there is. It's fluffy and it's gorgeous, so I made sure I took that off too. And just left with the wire in the middle. Yeah, we don't really want the wire, do we? Lots of tinsel to use. So this time I squirted my moulds with isopropyl alcohol to hopefully stop a lot of the bubbles, the trapped air that's in the points and the little crevices. And I fill in the moulds with clear resin. I am going to go around with my micro brush just to make sure I've got all the air out, but I'm really surprised how little there is compared to last time. So these moulds are about 3/4 full with resin, and now it's time to add the tinsel, and I'm using tweezers and just shoving it in. I'm making sure I push the tinsel down once I've got enough so that there's less air trapped underneath the tinsel. Once I've put some tinsel in, then I'll put some more resin in and do the same again. I really want these pieces full with tinsel, not jammed packed, but a lot. I just want to say a quick hello and welcome to all my new subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It doesn't cost anything and it does help my channel out. A thumbs up is always really appreciated, and a comment too. I always try my best to answer all the comments. So each time I put some more tinsel in, I push it down, and then I put more resin on top, and I make sure I've got the tinsel in his toes, in his tail, in every part. Then I squirt it with isopropyl alcohol and they go in my pressure pot. 2 days later, yes, work got in the way again, and it's time to demold. Absolutely love demolding day. Don't just love those sounds. You're seeing these as I'm seeing these, and I was blown away with this matte mould with the tinsel in. I thought it was absolutely stunning. The shiny mould, although it's nice, it didn't do it for me. It was the matte mould that absolutely blew my mind. In my opinion, for something like this, having a matte mould is just an added dimension. You can see the detail of the mould more than you can on the shiny. It's very difficult to video this type of colour though, but I'm hoping you can see what I can see. Now I needed to trim around the edges because one of them had a little bit of overspill, and a lot of people use a nail file. Personally, if you're using clear resin and have a clear resin piece, I don't like using a nail file because it leaves a white line. I prefer to use a knife. Now I would say if you're doing this method, you've got to really be careful. This is a really sharp scalpel. It is mega sharp, and I am really careful not to cut myself with it, but it gives a clear edge, not a white edge that an emery board does. And I prefer it when you've got clear resin. So I go right the way around the outside, trimming it up. When resin cures, it can be really sharp, so it's always best to trim up the back, either to sand it or to trim it, so that you don't leave any sharp edges, and claws are always sharp. I haven't trimmed up the purple ones yet, but I will. I absolutely love this little dragon mould. It is an economy dragon mould from Aly Express, but it is gorgeous and the purple colour is just stunning. Personally, I prefer the matte moulds, and I didn't think I'd ever say that. Let me know what you think. I'd like your opinion too in the comments section below. It's really difficult to video the clear resin, but it is gorgeous. However, in my opinion, the matte version is my absolute favourite. It is not see-through, therefore you can see the detail. I sometimes colour moulds with mica powder, and I probably will do with this one. But for now, I absolutely love the easy one pour resin, and they're gorgeous. I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I've enjoyed making these little dragons. I absolutely adore them. But then I have a thing for dragons. I'll put all the links in the description box below, including the link for the little guy that I used, which was a candle mould from Amazon, I believe. My Amazon affiliate link will be in the description box. Come back and see me next week, because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week, happy crafting, and bye for now.